would like to present our discussion about beyond test alternative in assessment. Let me introduce myself. My name is Febriana Dwinder Asih. The first slide is outline. The outline are introduction, the dilemma of maximizing both practicality and respect, performance-based assessment, portfolio, journal, conference and interview, and the next observation, the last one is self and peer assessment. The next slide in introduction. Introduction in chapter 1, an important distinction was made between testing and assessing. Tests are formal procedure, usually administered within strict time limitations to sample the performance of a test taker in specific domain. Tes dibagi menjadi dua type, yaitu formatif dan sumatif. Formatif itu terjadi di pertengahan pembelajaran, seperti kuis, project, ulangan harian, dan lain sebagainya. Terus yang sumatif itu terjadi di akhir pembelajaran, assessment of learning. Nah, ini seperti UAS, final exams. Assessment connotes a much broader concept in that most of the time when teacher and are teaching, they are also assessing. Assessment includes all occasion for informal, observation and comment ups, and including tests. Assessment berguna untuk to make sure student ability. Assessment terbagi menjadi dua type juga. Yang pertama yaitu informal and formal. Formal is being assessed, dan ini terjadwal like presentation, role play, interview, and paper. And informal itu tidak terjadwal, unplanned. Ini bisa dinilai, bisa tidak, like Q&A, classroom participant, and then yang intinya tuh tidak terlihat. The next slide is the characteristic of alternative in assessments. First, they require student to perform, create, produce, or do some things. Jadi siswa disuruh untuk membuat atau menciptakan sesuatu, bisa berupa tulisan maupun karya. Second is they use real words, context, or simulations. The next, they are non-intrusive in that they extend the day-to-day classroom activities. The next, they allow students to be assessed on what they normally do in class. They use texts that represents meaningful instructional activity. The next, they focus on process as well as products. The next ones, they tap into hangers level thinking and problem solving skills. The next slide is the dilemma of maximizing both practicality and respect. The principal purpose in this chapter is to examine some of the alternatives in assessment are markedly different from formal tests. On the other hand, texts like portfolio, journals, and self-assessment are open-ended in their time orientations on format, contextualis to curriculum, reference to the criteria, objective of the curriculum, and then likely to boost intrinsic motivation. Jadi untuk membangun motivasi dari dirinya sendiri. The next slide, relationship of practicality or reliability to aspect. You can see in the chart in the PowerPoints. HIC is like large-scale standardized multi-choice test, and practically and ability in class, short answer, essay, test, and law. In the law respect is portfolio, journal, and conference, but is respect and authenticity. Uh, the next slide is perform-based assessment. Perform-based assessment implies productive observable skill such as speaking and writing of content valid texts perform usually, but not always, bring with it an air of authenticity rewards tests that students have had time to develop. Um, it often implies an integration of language skill, perhaps all four skill in the case of project works like writing, reading, speaking, and listening. The characteristic of performance assessments. First, students make a construct response, and then they engage in high-order thinking with open-ended tests, and then tests are meaningful, engaging, and authentic, and then tests call for integration of language skill, and then both process and product are assessed. And the last one is depth of the student mastery. Mastery is emphasis over bits. And the next slide is procedure for performance-based assessments. Performance-based assessment procedures need to be treated with some rigors as traditional tests. This implies that teachers should state the overall goal of the performance, specify the objective criteria of the perform in detail, prepare students for perform in stepwise progressions, then treats perform as opportunity for giving feedback and provides the feedback systematically. And then, if possible, utilize self and peer assessment judiciously. The next one is use a reliable evaluation from checklists or rating sheets. Um, the next will be delivered by Rizka.
Hello, my name is Rizka. Now I will explain about portfolio and journal. Uh, Actually, portfolio and journal is one of the tools to measure students' competence in alternative assessment. As we know that alternative assessment is not as simple as traditional assessment, which only use paper and pencil tests. So now I will explain both of a portfolio and journal in more detail. Okay, so now we move to the portfolio first. A portfolio is a purposeful collection of students' work that demonstrates students' effort, progress, and achievement in given areas. This is the definition from Genesee and Upsur. So I will make it simple. Portfolio is like a collection of students' schoolwork collected over a specific of time that shows students' growth and development. For example, homework assignment, journal entries, in-class writing assignment, and professional articles. And I'm sure that you did this in the past, maybe when you were in elementary school or junior high school, senior high school, or even in the college. But usually, portfolio is used for young learner, like elementary school or maybe in kindergarten. So, for example, when I was in elementary school, my art teacher uh, gave me the assignment. Uh, she asked to she asked me to gather some tasks in one file, which is portfolio, and then the portfolio include like the collection of my painting results, handicraft, or maybe calligraphy or something like that. Okay, now we move to the materials in portfolios, such as the first essays and compositions in draft and final form, report, project outline, poetry and creative prose, artwork, photos, newspaper or magazine clippings, audio and or video recordings of presentations, demonstration, journal, diaries, and other personal reflection, tests, test scores, and written homework exercise, notes on lecturers, and self and peer assessment, comment, evaluation, and checklist. Okay, so now we move to the attributes of portfolio. Gottlieb suggested a development same for considering the nature and the purpose of portfolios using the acronym CRADLE to designate 6 possible attributes of portfolio. So this is like what is the main purpose of portfolio that the students will make. There is CRADLE. CRADLE stands for collecting, reflecting, assessing, documenting, linking, and evaluating. So collecting an expression of students' lives and identities. Collecting is the process in which the students gather materials to include in their portfolios. It is left to students to decide what to include. However, it's still necessary for teacher to provide clear guidelines in terms of what can be potentially selected. And the second attribute is reflecting, thinking about experience and activities. Reflecting happens through the students thinking about the work they have placed in the portfolio. And common ways to reflect is the use of checklists. Students simply check the characteristics that are present in their work. So the teacher's role is to provide class time so the students are able to reflect on their own. And the next is assessing, evaluating quality and development over time. So assessing involves examining and maintaining the quality of portfolio over time. Usually there must be an increase in every, for example, in every uh, consultation of the portfolio work. And the next is linking, connecting students and teacher, parents, community, and peer. It is obvious that, documenting, demonstrating students' achievement. So documenting serves more as a reminder than an action. Simply documenting means that the teacher and students maintain the importance of portfolio over the course of its usefulness. And the next is linking, connecting students and teachers, parent, community, and peer. Linking is the use of portfolio to serve as mode of communication between students, peers, teachers, and even parents. And students can look at each other's portfolio and provide feedback. Parents can also control the work of their child through portfolios. And the last is evaluating, generating responsible outcome. So yeah, in the end of the work, students and teachers should evaluate the portfolio together. Now we move to the steps and guidelines for making a portfolio. The first, the teacher should state objective clearly. This is when teacher should give the information to the student about the object or the goals that the students will make in their portfolios. And the second is give guidelines on what materials to include. This is when the teacher tells the students about what is in the portfolio and how the materials can include in that portfolio. And the teachers can also give the example of portfolio to the students from previous students in order to the students can get a little description about what is in the portfolio. And the next is communicate assessment criteria to students. This is the most in the book. It stated that this is the most important aspect and the most complex one because both students and teacher should give feedback to the assessment. You can look at the example on the book, page 258. And the next is uh, designate time within the curriculum for portfolio development. Uh, this is when the teacher should manage the time to do the project. For example, students must do the project for 1 semester or 2 semester or even 1 year or something like that. And the fifth is establish periodic schedules for review and conferencing. This is when the teacher can make a schedule in more detail. For example, schedule for the students to make a draft for their portfolio in the beginning of the semester. So the schedule for the teacher give feedback, give a consultation in the middle of the semester, and the schedule of the students to gather their work in the end of the semester and something like that. So the teacher should make a schedule schedule in detail for the students in order prevent students to gather their work in the end of the time. And the sixth is a night an accessible place to keep portfolio. So this is like the teachers give students space to do the project. Maybe the teachers invite the students to do the project in the library or maybe in the reading room in the class or something like that. And the last is provide positive watchback when giving final assessment. This is the last one because the students should give like feedback, the final feedback, in order to make a positive washback to the whole learning activities. And the next is journal. We move to journal. A journal is a log of one's own feeling, reaction, assessment, ideas, or progress toward goals, usually written with little attention to structure, form, or correctness. Journal obviously serve important pedagogical purpose. Practice in the mechanic of writing, using writing as a thinking process, individualization, and communication with the teacher. Journals are writing practices which focus on the expression of students' opinion, viewpoint, experiences, and creative imagining. Topic of journals will be determined by the teacher. For example, teacher asks to write about the student's favorite subject at school, or what do you want to be when you grow up, and choose and describe at least 3 jobs that you think you will enjoy. I think you guys, uh, it's very common when it comes to journal because we often to use journal, we read journal, we presentation from the journal and something like that. And I'm sure that you know the journal. And the last, no, not last. I'm sorry. We move to the categories of journal. The first one is there is language learning logs, grammar journal, response to reading, strategies-based learning logs, self-assessment reflection, diaries or attitude feelings, and other effective factors, acculturation logs. The categories is like when you make a journal, you should consider to these categories. What categories, what journal uh, do you want to make? You have to consider to these categories whether you want to make a response to reading journal or you want to make self-assessment writing journal or something like that. The next we move to how to make a journal. Steps for journals. The first is sensitively introduce students to the concept of journal writing. This is when the teacher introduce about what is journal, what is in the journal, uh, and so the students can get a little description about what is the journal. The second is set the objectives of the journal. So this is when the teacher should determine the goals and the object in making the journal. The teachers can determine it based on these categories. For example, the teacher should make a journal about responses to reading. So the teacher should make a journal about, for example, one book that the students read. For example, the students should make a journal based on the novel that they read or something like that. So the point is in the set the objective, the teacher should determine the object of the journal. The third is give guidelines on what kinds of topic include. So it means that the teacher should specific topic to the teacher and to the students. The teacher should give a positive. The teacher should give a specific topic to the students. In the second, give the object or the goals, and the third is topic. The next one is carefully specify the criteria for assessing or grading journal. This is when teacher states how the journal will be assessed, will be evaluated. And the next one is provide optimal feedback in your responses. Of course, in making the journal, it's not as simple as we imagine. So the teacher should give feedback continuously to the students. For example, in the middle of the time, the period of time, or maybe there is a time the teacher give a consultation and like that. And the six steps designate appropriate time frames and schedule for review. This is when the teacher set the schedule in making the journal. This is similar to the steps in make a portfolio. The teacher should give the schedule to the students, of course, in making the journals. And the last one in making journals is provide formative washback, giving final comments. Journal is a task that takes time and long process. Uh, so when it comes to the final result of journal, teacher should give the final comments, of course, because writing is the skills is not as simple as maybe speaking or listening, but writing need more time to uh, to process the writing itself. So when it comes to the end, the teacher should give final comments for the work, for the students' work. So that's all my explanation about portfolio and journal. The next part will be delivered by my friend. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Sony Kunewati. My last student number is 259 here. I am going to explain conferences, interviews, and observations in alternative in assessment. First thing first, I am going to explain conferences. Conferences have been a routine part of language assessment, especially in writing class. So conferences are not limited draft of written work, and it must assume that the teacher plays role of a facilitator and guider. not of an administrator of a formal assessment, because in conferences, the positive approach of the teacher are first, uh, facilitating the improvement of student support. Second, interaction between students and teacher being able to direct feedback toward student specific needs. And these are the function of conferences. Jadi ini ada fungsi-fungsi dari konferensi, bisa dilihat pada halaman 265. Dalam if teacher conducting conferences, fungsi dari konferensi itu adalah memberi feedback atas mungkin memberi feedback pada hasil dari performance atau memberi komentar pada draft esainya atau laporan tugasnya atau memberi review portfoliosnya atau ngecek penilaian siswanya, self assessmentnya, and according to Eugenides and Upshur, I don't know how to pronounce those names, they offered a number of generic questions that may be useful for teacher to pose in conferences. Jadi, Eugenides dan Upshur ini mereka menyarankan jika seorang teacher melakukan konferensi, mungkin itu adalah pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang berguna untuk teacher dalam melakukan conference. Jadi, what did you like about this work? What do you think you did well? How does it show improvement from previous work? Can you show me the improvement? What did you do when you did not know a word that you want to write or say, and so on? After asking those questions, maybe teacher can give feedback dengan tujuan siswanya itu bisa mengimprove pekerjaan mereka menjadi lebih baik. Technically, interview is a private meeting between people when the questions are asked and answered. But an interview is discussion of alternative in assessment usually encompass one specialized kind of conference. Jadi ini adalah jenis lain dari konferensi. Interviews may have several possible goals in which the teacher dalam melakukan interview mungkin teachernya ini bisa memastikan kebutuhan siswanya sebelum mendesain kurikulum atau mendesain kayak silabusnya, apa yang akan mereka pelajari, apa yang mereka akan kerjakan selama satu semester, atau mencari dalam interview teacher bisa mencari gaya pembelajaran siswanya atau pilihan gaya pembelajaran siswanya atau pilihan belajarnya atau pilihan siswanya, dan request evaluasi dari course-nya, atau bisa dilihat lagi lebih banyaknya di halaman 265. Ya, 265 sampai 266 yang paling atas yang di sini. And observation is a system. It is easy for teacher to assume that these interviews are just informal conversations, so teacher no need to prepare a little preparation. But however, this interview have multiple objectives, so it is quite difficult to generalize principles for conducting interview. But don't worry, below are the following guidelines may help teacher to frame the questions efficiently. Jadi ini ada di halaman 266. Mungkin teacher bisa mengikuti following guidelines di sini, dia membantu mereka untuk menanyakan pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang membuat sebelum merangkai pertanyaan sebelum melakukan interview. Kita lanjut, last but not least. Last but not least, observations is a systematic, planned procedure for real-time, almost verbatim recording of students' verbal and non-verbal behavior. And one of the objectives of observation is to assess students without their awareness and maybe possibly possible consequent anxiety of the observation so that the naturalness of the students linguistic performance is maximized. Jadi dari salah satu dari tujuan dari observasi ini ketika teacher melakukan observasi adalah tujuannya itu untuk menilai students secara natural. Jadi tanpa kesadaran dari siswanya gitu loh. Jadi teachernya diam-diam mengamati studentsnya jadi kan nggak tahu kalau misalkan ini conference dan interview kan studentsnya sadar dong kalau misalkan mereka ditanyain, mereka di-assess. Tapi kalau observation ini students teacher sebisa mungkin meng-assess studentsnya itu tanpa kesadaran dari mereka gitu. Jadi diam-diam mengamati. Itu tujuan dari observasi. Please take a look at column yang di bawah pada halaman 267. Di sini adalah potential observation Fushi. Nggak tahu, pokoknya ini adalah yang bisa these are the kind of student performance yang bisa di-observe. Kayak interaksi dari classmate, interaksi siswa sama teman-teman sekelasnya, itu bisa teacher observe. Terus bukti dari listening comprehension-nya, terus length dari utterance-nya, atau effective states-nya, atau evidence of attention issues-nya, atau learning style preference-nya, sebagainya itu. Dan pokoknya yang di kolom 267 ini itu bisa di-observe sama teacher. And steps for observation tentu aja untuk mengamati siswa butuh langkah-langkah yang bisa kita lihat pada halaman 268. Itu adalah langkah-langkah untuk to carry out classroom observations. So teacher ini important untuk teacher untuk menentukan spesifik objektif dari observationsnya. Jadi sebelum melakukan observations, teacher tuh harus menentukan dulu tujuan spesifik dari siswa itu mau ngapain, apa yang mau diamatinya. Misalkan tujuannya dari teacher itu mau mengamati listening comprehension-nya. Jadi ya udah atau enggak speaking comprehension-nya, speaking skill-nya. Misalkan udah student A dia udah dapet spesifik objektifnya yaitu speaking skill. Jadi teacher ya udah dia mengamati skill speakingnya aja. Dia ngomong sama teman-teman sekelasnya, dia bicara pas asking questions atau dia bicara pas discussion. Nah, itu kan bisa di-observe kan. Terus decide how many students will be observed at one time. Jadi misalkan hari ini mau observe berapa orang, gak mungkin kan semua orang dalam satu kelas di observe. Paling banyak tuh misalkan ada maksimal 35 siswa dalam satu kelas. Nah, itu teachernya harus decide dulu mau berapa orang yang di observe, gak mungkin 35 dan gak bakal bisa teacher itu mau observe 35 dalam satu waktu. Kalau misalkan berminggu-minggu tuh mungkin bisa, tapi kalau dalam satu waktu 35 siswa dalam satu waktu itu gak bakal bisa. Terus set up the logistic for making analysis observations. Jadi di ini loh kayak jangan sampai observations ini tuh di notice gitu. Jadi bikin kayak kayak biasa aja gitu. jangan kelihatan banget kalau kalian seorang teacher itu lagi observasi. Terus design a system for recording observer performance. Jadi membuat uh, bentuk-bentuk, membuat apa ya? Membuat sistem untuk record observer performance. Nanti ini ada penjelasan lebih lanjutnya. Do not overestimate the number of different elements you can observe at one time. Jadi jangan overestimate perbedaan elemen yang kamu bisa observe dalam satu waktu. Terus plan how many observations you will make. Terus determine specifically how you will use the results. Itu terakhir banget steps dari observations. Steps untuk observation itu teacher harus menentukan secara spesifik bagaimana kamu akan menggunakan hasil dari observasi itu. Misalkan untuk mengkontribusi hasilnya itu untuk kontribusi pada penilaian siswa, untuk penilaian siswanya. Last but not least, I am going to explain more about point number 4, which designing a system for recording observed performance. Pertama yang kalian ketahui bahwa designing a system for recording observed performance untuk record siswa itu nggak mudah, bukan hal yang mudah dilakukan oleh teacher. Tapi, however, bagaimanapun, you can as a teacher can implement the form of anecdotal records or checklist or even rating scales untuk nge-record your students' performance. And here is the example of anecdotal records. Ini adalah bentuk dari anecdotal records yang bisa teacher gunakan untuk merecord apa yang telah diamati oleh teachernya. Dan observation tool ini biasanya digunakan teacher untuk merecord students behavior as observed yang telah diobservasi. Dan diisi dari anecdotal records ini itu biasanya ada objektif, pasti objektif ini dibuat menjadi short story dan harus akurat mungkin, as accurate as possible. And dan apa sih tujuan untuk dari anecdotal ini? Tujuan dari anecdotal records tentunya untuk menjadi kontribusi untuk judgment student assessment. Jadi untuk mengkontribusi penilaian siswa di akhir biasanya. Kayak dibantu-bantu loh, misalkan progres siswa tuh kayak gini dari materi 1, materi 2, materi 3, kemampuan comprehensionnya juga bagus nih dari ini. Jadi di akhir pas penilaian akhir misalkan itu mungkin teacher itu bisa dibantu oleh catatan records ini, anecdotal records ini akan dibantu oleh catatan ini gitu. Oke, intinya itu. Nah, kedua next itu ada students observation form. Ini adalah bentuk dari checklist, bentuk lain dari yang ada di buku, yang ada di halaman 269 yang ini. Ini adalah bentuk lainnya dari yang ini, dari checklist. To be honest, aku nggak terlalu ngerti ini maksudnya apa, jadi aku nge-research lagi tentang checklist, observation checklist untuk form observation. Jadi ini adalah bentuk other forms of students observation form. Terus pokoknya, nah di form ini kan di checklist. Nah, kalian tuh bisa tulis, pokoknya sebagai teacher kita juga harus kan tadi steps untuk observasi kan harus menentukan dulu kan objektif dari apa yang kita mau observe. Nah, di sini ada di halaman 268 whole class, content of the topic, linguistic competence, materials being used, or skill. Nah, ini bisa jadiin sebagai misalkan activity description atau lesson observation. Jadi siswanya bisa dalam misalkan contohnya linguistic competence, terus kalian tulis namanya siapa, hari apa, terus grade berapa, observernya, terus activity-nya misalkan linguistic competence di sini atau whole class. Dia tuh aktif dalam sama kelas. Maksudnya dalam satu kelas itu, maksudnya dalam satu waktu kelas itu berlangsung, siswa itu tuh aktif terus gitu. Nah itu nanti kalian bisa checklist. Pokoknya kalian tulis dulu objektif dari observe-nya yang akan kalian lakukan. Baru nanti kalau misalkan students itu melakukan apa yang kalian jadi objektif, apa yang kalian jadi tujuan, nanti kalian bisa checklist. Tuh. Dan lastly, yang terakhir adalah rating scale. Ini adalah rating scale yang mungkin bisa menjadi salah satu juga contoh untuk guru bisa digunakan ketika mengobserve untuk merecord observe performance dari siswa. Jadi nanti awal lagi kita harus tentuin dulu ini adalah objektif yang kita mau nilai dari siswanya, yang mau kita amati dari siswa. Misalkan siswa A, dia presentation in class gitu. Nah, rating scale sama checklist itu hampir sama. Bedanya adalah kalau scale ya itu dia berhubungan dengan numbers. Sebenarnya yang lebih akurat itu yang ini sih menurut saya pribadi yang lebih akurat yang rating scale karena kita bisa tahu kita bisa kasih number berapa misalkan sesering apa siswa tuh sesering apa siswa misalkan sesering apa siswa aktif bicara asking questions. Kan kalau checklist kita cuma checklist doang kan. Tapi kalau di rating scale ini kita bisa tahu gitu loh, bisa nilai kalau misalkan siswa itu misalkan sering aktif bertanya, sering berarti misalkan always gitu. Terus oh ini cuman beberapa kali doang. Kita kan ketahuan tuh lebih akurat aja sih kalau rating scale ini menurut saya pribadi. And I think that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching.